Hi guys, welcome to Westminster. How the hell are you? Michael Heaver here.
Patrick Christie's here.
And as ever, live and direct, lots of political news to get through. We want you to jump in and get involved, pushing the Westminster agenda here. Lots of things around the world that we want to talk about and we want your opinion on. We're going to start, of course, Patrick, that Brexit transition. We've heard a bit more about it. New Year's Eve's the day.
Yeah, well, it looks like we've obviously heard that it was going to be around 2 years that the transition period would roll on for, and actually it turns out that it's just going to be 3 months less than that, if you can believe what's being said to you by the politicians, of course. It looks like on New Year's Eve 2020, we will be officially severing all ties with Brussels. But of course, it does pose some serious questions. First of all, do you really believe what Theresa May's got to say? Plus, the facts of the matter will be, if after you voted Brexit, nigh on 5 years down the line, your country still won't have taken back control of its borders, of its legal system, or been able to actually sign free trade deals with other countries. So I'm not really sure how important this development is, really.
Now, guys, earlier on we did a preview of this on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and some of you guys chucked some comments in. Thank you very much, and as ever, do keep your comments coming, because it's all about the interaction. And Mitch had an interesting comment on Facebook, just about this transition period, and it reads, I say that if Mrs May continues with this transition period, she is destroying the Tory party for good, as she would have failed the 17.4 million plus people by breaking her promise of getting us out of the EU membership completely by March 2019. And they go on. And I think the point here is, guys, we know why people, voted leave. They voted leave to take back control of borders, laws and money. And this whole transition period now, it basically kicks the can down the road into the 2020s. Now, the government can turn around and say, well, on New Year's Eve 2020, we will basically have taken back control and we'll finally do that. But you guys know as well as I do, a week is a long time in politics. You look at the state of British politics, it's all up in the air at the minute. You're hearing constant stories about Theresa May's leadership. How can a government make such fundamental promises about delivering change into the 2020s, years ahead of time? I think it's going to deeply unsettle Brexiteers, and as ever, we'd like to hear what you about it. Maybe you guys, some of you guys support it, some of you are very worried about it, let us know.
Absolutely, well, we want your comments to come rolling in, please, guys. So just let us know what you think. Look, were you expecting, maybe when you voted for Brexit, were you expecting to wait this long for it to come into force? Were you expecting to wait so long to be able to get control of your country? Let us know what you think. I mean, the one thing that you're not being told in all this guff that's coming out of Parliament and Westminster at the moment is that actually this particular timetable, this New Year's Eve 2020 timetable, was put forward by the EU as their preferred timetable several months ago. So, although it does mean that Britain now is not going to have to wait an extra 3 months to finally come out of the European Union, it is another example, it would seem, of Theresa May just caving into Brussels. So, very mixed emotions on this one, I think.
Yeah, we've got aim high. I like that. I always aim high on Twitter, basically commenting and saying, don't believe them. I think there's an issue of credibility here, that if you keep kicking the can down the road and say, well, we're going to deliver and deliver and deliver, you cannot credibly say that in the 2020s we 100% will know what's going on, because as I said, you look what's happened in terms of elections, in terms of leadership changes and all the rest of it. And I think these kind of changes, these kinds of promises of kicking the can down the road are angering a lot of Brexiteers from what I've seen today, and I think this is going to be a continual theme in British politics. But have we got comments coming through, Patrick?
Well, David Rendell's just said there shouldn't be a transition period. Steve Narsworthy saying stop Brexit now. Mark Martin saying too long. So lots of your comments coming in there, guys. Really good to have you all on board. And I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the fact of the matter is it comes down to, all right, well, the government said this today, but is that really good enough? Is that what you believe? Because, at the end of the day, we're being led by the kind of political equivalent of a chocolate teapot at the minute in Theresa May.
Well, Patrick's a big fan of Theresa May, aren't you, Patrick? Yes. For those who aren't joining, by the way, guys, do visit westminster.com, do like us on Facebook, Twitter, retweet this if you're enjoying, give us a like if you're enjoying, because if you haven't, you'll miss out on what things like Patrick said on Theresa May. Patrick, what's your view on Theresa May?
I think she's about as useful as a hole in a boat. So yeah, not very good, to be honest. I mean, and it's ironic because that's quite a useful metaphor, because she is currently presiding over a sinking ship, I think, on Downing Street. But if you really believe this woman who has delivered absolutely precious little, I mean, if you notice within Theresa May's interviews, every single one will start with her saying, I've always been very clear on this. Actually, that's a smokescreen for the fact that she's never made a decision in her life. And I think this is where we're up to now with the European Union. Do you actually really trust that come New Year's Eve in 2020 we are going to be leaving the European Union? Do you trust that we will be in a position by then to be set up on our own, to have made the most about benefits of leaving? Or, you know, will she backtrack completely? I mean, I think that's more likely for me that Theresa May will make a cock-up of it.
Well, Patrick, you've got support here on Twitter. Steve saying May is spineless and weak.
Yeah,
We've
she is.
also got Rawdon Redwood reflecting, I think, a growing sense, I think, on the Leave side among Brexiteers, that there's going to be a complete screw job put in place, saying 75% of MPs remain. They will try and sabotage it. We cannot let them. And again, this goes back to something actually that Nigel Farage said a little while back, is that those on the Leave side, Brexiteers, you cannot bury your heads in the sand.
No.
If you think this is signed, sealed and delivered, then you may be in for a nasty shock, because there's going to be what they call a meaningful vote in Parliament, basically a Brexit veto by MPs and Lords, and they will have the opportunity, and some like Len McCluskey on the sort of Labour side are already saying, we want to see this deal voted down, come what may, to bring the government down, to bring Theresa May down. At that point, you're probably looking at another referendum or another election, more likely a referendum, I would say. So, it's all up in the air at the minute, guys. If you believe in Brexit, you need to stay tuned. You need to be following Westminster on Twitter, Facebook. You need to be visiting Westminster.com. You need to be keeping up to date with everything that's going on, because believe me, I think we're in for a very tumultuous few months. But keep your comments rolling in.
Guys, if you're just joining us now, thank you very much. Don't forget to give us a big like and a thumbs up. Our main topic that we're going in on at the minute is the fact that it's been announced that the Brexit transition period will definitively come to an end on New Year's Eve 2020. So yeah, so it's only taken you several years to see your country take back control of its borders, its legal system, and be able to go and trade freely around the rest of the world. I mean, that's obviously fine, isn't it? But some of your comments are coming in.
Yeah, well, it didn't take long, did it? It didn't take long, you cheeky monkey, because we've got JM Wood UK here on Twitter, Jacob Rees-Mogg for PM.
There he
it wouldn't be
is.
a Westminster live stream, would it, without a push for the
Moggy.
But there's, you know, there's clearly a degree of support there for Mogg. It's something we've been highlighting. There's no way of getting around it. A lot of you guys, big supporters of Mogg. Yeah. It's something we like hearing from you, because it's nice to know that there's that level of support, and that when we do stories, when we do polls and things like that, there's legit support out there for this guy.
Yeah. Well, comments again, David Rendell, regular on the show. Great to have you on board, David. Thank you very much. Saying, imagine if people told the tax man they would pay them what they wouldn't pay them what they owed for 2-year transition period. So basically, I think what point you're making there is, you know, really, if you owe someone something, then you should pay them straight away. The EU is mugging us off.
Skipton Town on Twitter. A question of credibility, question mark. There never was any in the first place.
I like that. Is that an actual football team, Skipton Town, that are messaging us?
I don't know. Please do update us.
I'd love that.
If we have a football team watching, then in terms of broadcasting, that would be absolutely magnificent stuff.
I like this as well. Dean Barker, the Royal Mail has a better delivery record than Apisa Theresa. Fantastic, absolutely true. As I've said, just in case you're just joining us now, Theresa May is the political equivalent of a chocolate teapot. She is nigh on useless. Nick Harbone, JRM 4pm. It's got a nice ring to it, that one, Nick.
Oh, it didn't take very long, did it, for the JRM stuff to keep to start rolling in. But we're also looking now, guys. We're going to move on from Brexit a little bit. Although, you know, keep your comments going and we'll go back to it. Basically, EU Commissioner, very, very interesting comments. The EU Commissioner for Regional Policy, Karina Cretu, basically talking about this whole idea of social integration within Europe, and you know, given the whole policy of mass migration, given the sheer number now coming into the continent, she's basically said, and this, bear in mind, guys, this is one of the EU's, of course, unelected commissioners. This is
one of them, yeah.
This is what she said. Social integration will be crucial in the years to come. If we allow ghettos or segregation of migrants, this will become a nuclear bomb in the future. Now, there's a number of very interesting aspects to this story. You have an EU commissioner here basically admitting that Europe has huge social problems now, and potentially even bigger in the future. You know, the size of a nuclear bomb in terms of policy. And this whole idea of ghettos and segregation, surely, guys, surely you've got to look at EU policy, this open door policy, the way they've dealt with the migrant crisis, the way they mishandled it, the way that they allow weak borders and basically promote that type of policy. That's what surely led to these social problems. I mean, we've done a number of stories in Westminster. We followed it over in France, for instance, where you've just got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people on the streets. You know, in places like Calais, there's absolute mayhem down there with criminal gangs and all the rest of it. And how strange it is now that you have EU commissioners saying, well, we've got these huge problems on our doorstep. And at no point is there a sort of a realisation, well, maybe that's because of the policy.
Well, this is it. We're in this really bizarre situation now, and it seems to happen all across Europe. And actually, I think it happens a lot with the political left as well, where they seem completely devoid of any kind of self-awareness whatsoever, whereby they'll slag everyone off and they'll criticise.
This has just happened out of nowhere.
It's actually, let's analyse the reasons why Europe is now sitting on, as the EU Commissioner puts it, a ticking time bomb, a nuclear bomb. Well, that is because your completely and utterly incompetent approach to the migrant crisis has led to these, again, your words not mine, migrant ghettos popping up across Europe that now you are threatening to could cause some kind of massive social harm. You can argue that they already have in some cases. And their response to it, their cheeky enough response to this is go, let's throw £310 billion.
That's billion, by the way.
£billion.
I could believe it because it's the EU, but the amount of money here, I had to double check this. So it's £310
billion specifically, right, for social integration project. Now, this is interesting, isn't it? Because I imagine that if I'd massively cocked up one day, like for example, if I smashed the camera that you're looking at right now, I wouldn't turn around to Michael and say, sorry mate, do you mind paying for a new one? No, because it's my fault. But EU taxpayers are now having to bear the brunt of this absolutely piss poor EU migrant policy that has caused all these problems.
Yeah, and we're getting the comments flooding through on this as I knew we would. Actually, an interesting comment from Lincoln Simpson saying her opinion is just about as relevant as mine. Well, I mean, there's certainly that whole democratic deficit you've got on here of EU commissioners sort of lauding it around, talking about spending these mammoth budgets when they presided over this stuff, and they're of course totally unaccountable. Well,
Kevin's saying it's not a lack of self-awareness on the politicians' parts, it's not wanting to admit that they've made a complete balls up when it comes to immigration. The fact is, mate, it doesn't really matter either way. The facts of the matter are they have made a complete balls up of it, and now the general public are having to foot the bill.
We've got JDQ on Twitter as well saying, how do we reverse the crisis? Well, look, I'm an optimist. I'm not someone who throws their hands up and says, oh, we cannot possibly do anything about this, and the world's going to end, and our civilization's coming to an end, and our culture's destroyed. No. There's lots of things that can be done here, guys, and I think Brexit is the start of it. What you've got to do is you've got to take control of your borders, and you've got to treat people that want to come into your country on an economic basis as many other sensible countries around the world do, like America does, like Australia does. You have a points-based merit system. The people that add to your country that you need, that have the skills that you need, that don't have a criminal record, that are people that are going to come and contribute positively. And those that don't have the skills you need, those who you aren't sure of the background of, or you're not sure if they've got criminal background or indeed have indeed been in prison for serious offences, you simply don't let them in. And you can control the numbers, you can bring in good people, sensible people that you want. And I think if you do that, if Britain does that, immigration won't be a massive political issue anymore because you would have controlled it. The problem people have is the levels, and it's just completely run out of control in terms of both EU open borders, in terms of the migrant crisis. And I'm a great optimist. If we start controlling numbers and controlling our borders properly, I think most people can see, most sane people can see that migration brings benefits as long as it's controlled and done at a sensible level.
Well, there you go. So Ryan Lewis, just as Michael was talking there, Ryan Lewis said, okay, so what can we do? And I mean, I hope that's answered your question. The way I always look at it with regards to migration is, if you walked into any pub up and down the country now and asked any single person in that pub, what are the 3 biggest issues facing your country now? The chances are 90% of people would include migration or immigration in one of those 3 issues. So clearly it's a massive public issue. Now what the EU have decided to do, the approach they decided to take, was basically let's say nothing about it and do nothing to bother to control it whatsoever. And the end result of that has been that they're having to spend now £310 billion of taxpayers' cash to try and integrate people, to try and cause some kind of social cohesion. Obviously, we've already seen some quite damaging effects that have gone across the continent. I mean, it just shows that when it comes to migration, a lack of action for fear maybe of being seen as being inappropriate or whatever actually has worse consequences than if you just kind of grab it by the scruff of the neck and really try to get to deals and come up with a solid plan to handle mass immigration, basically.
Guys, a lot more to talk about today, but if you're enjoying this, do give us a retweet if you're on Twitter, do give us a like and a share if you're on Facebook, do visit westmonster.com, do support us. A lot more coming up in the pipeline from us very, very soon. You're about to see a lot from Westmonster, so follow our accounts if you're enjoying this. A hell of a lot more. These streams are soon going to be at a whole new level, so do support us, we really appreciate it. We're just going to move now to, I mean, it kind of relates to the whole...
It does kind of relate, absolutely.
Borders. And we'll start off with the Uzbek.
So...
we've got to be a bit careful because obviously it's an ongoing...
Yeah, it's an ongoing trial. He has pleaded guilty to terror offences, this bloke, so I think we're relatively free. But
this stems from the Stockholm terror attack, basically. Yeah, so... If you remember that horrific attack.
Yeah, so you might remember in Sweden, this bloke got in a truck basically and drove down a very, very busy pedestrianised shopping area. He killed 5, he injured around 10 others. Obviously it was a terrible, terrible act. So he's just pleaded guilty in court today to it, and it's emerged that he was a failed asylum seeker. So he's from Uzbekistan, he'd gone through the asylum process in Sweden and he'd been rejected. Now, this is actually becoming more and more of a regular thing. Just yesterday, for example, I reported on a story which you can find at westmonster.com. I reported on a story of a bloke who was in Germany, who had killed a woman because she converted to Christianity. Now, his asylum claim had been rejected some time ago.
Horrific story.
Yeah.
An Afghan asylum seeker stabbed a woman to death in front of her young children because she had converted. They actually did find it was a sort of a religiously motivated attack. It was because the woman had converted to Christianity from Islam. And this man, who's not been named as far as I know,
no.
Basically, one of his defences was, well, I was annoyed because I knew I was
about to get deported.
And the problem, and here's the thing, guys, it's a complete dereliction of duty in my mind for governments to allow people in, and then before they found out they even have a legal right to be there, if their story stacks up, if their asylum application is legit, they're being rejected and not deported.
That's mental.
And unfortunately, in some of these cases, and there are others that we've covered, this complete failure to act, this breakdown in the system whereby people have been told, they're about to get deported, and yet aren't, is sadly leading to some of these cases. And these things should never have happened.
No.
People shouldn't have been in those
And we're getting loads of fake, because we can see some of the emojis that come up on the screen here, guys. So we're getting a lot of either thumbs up for what we're saying, but also shocked faces at this. And I think that is a degree of shock. When I first found out that the scale of people that are rejected asylum seekers that are in the EU, that they're making no attempt to deport whatsoever. I mean, there's parts of Germany where they are expected to voluntarily turn up on the day of their deportation to go home. I mean, come on. And actually, I don't blame the people, not at all blaming the people that have been turned down from being granted asylum, that don't turn up, they don't present themselves at an airport to go back home. It's not their fault. The authorities should be enforcing this. And we've seen it in Finland. There's been a terror attack from a failed asylum seeker. Stockholm is the ongoing terror trial that we're seeing at the minute. He's pleaded guilty to it. He was a failed asylum seeker. Anis Amri, the Berlin Christmas market attacker, failed asylum seeker. The list goes on and on and on.
The truth of it is, guys, I think the reason that this is happening time and time again is the sheer scale now of the amount of people that European governments are allowing into their country, not background checking, or if they are background checking them and then found they have no legal reason to be there, they shouldn't be there, they don't qualify to be there. They simply don't have the funding, they don't have the resources to act upon it.
Yeah.
And that to me is you're then entering a very, very dangerous situation where any Tom, Dick and Harry can just come in, spin you a line on, I'm this, that and the other. You then find out it's a complete load of bullshit, but you don't actually have the infrastructure to act upon it. And so that's a complete breakdown there of borders, that's a complete breakdown in the system. And as we say, these sickening cases, 2 in the last, of people that shouldn't have been in the country, should have been deported, weren't, and tragedy is falling.
Well, this is it, and you guys seem to be, broadly speaking, in agreement here. Joanne McCartan saying it's got to get strict. Alexander Smith, regular on the show. Alexander, thanks for coming back to us, saying there should be no dilly-dallying. If their applications are rejected, they should be deported. And there's loads of these ones. Leslie White saying should have been deported straight away. And what I do think about, the government has a lot of the governments in these European countries have a lot to answer for. When these events happen, and someone does commit this act of terror, and there's these pile of bodies that are there, it's the government's fault, isn't it, for rejecting these people and then doing nothing to get them out of the country? I mean, they really do have some serious questions to answer there, and certainly if I was a relative of one of these victims, I think I'd absolutely lose my cool completely.
Guys, difficult subjects as ever at Westminster, but we don't duck anything. Anything you want us to talk about, by the way, dive in the comments, let us know what you think. We will read your comments out. It's completely uncensored here, so dive in. If you are enjoying what we're doing, give us a retweet on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and do visit Westminster.
Yeah.
As I say, a lot more coming up from Westminster, so this is just a little flavour of the type of thing we're going to be doing in the coming weeks and days. Now, we'll turn to our next story, much closer to home. Very, very sad, guys. Again,
lawless London.
You see what's going on in London at the minute. It's an absolute heartbreaker, basically. You know, young people being stabbed, young people being murdered. We had the 4 over New Year's Eve, four young men in basically a 24-hour period over New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, stabbed to death. 4 separate incidents. Since then, we've had a number of other attacks.
Which is relentless. It's relentless.
So the latest one we've now got was in Streatham, Patrick.
Yeah.
19-year-old lad in Streatham. I think it was 2 days ago. Stabbed to death.
Yeah.
And again, guys, you know, it's another teenager. And there's no outrage, is there? I'm surprised you've heard, unless you've visited our website or maybe 1 or 2 others. I doubt you've even heard about it. And yet, this is teenagers, young men, young boys being stabbed to death on the streets of London. And what changes that? What changes? Where is the outrage? My feeling is, the sickening thought is that this is now becoming an accepted thing by people. That, oh well, you know, that's just what goes on. These are people, these are young people living in Britain today, living in London today, who are being attacked, who are being killed. And I don't see anything changing.
No.
Sadiq Khan has done a complete U-turn and stop and search and said, well, before he went in, that he wanted to cut stop and search, and now he's for increasing it because he's finally been mugged by reality. But I'm not seeing a big crackdown on law and order being proposed by the government. I'm not seeing a big increase in funding for police. I'm not seeing a plan to actually end the scourge of knife crime. All I'm seeing really is people ducking and diving around this issue.
Yeah.
And this is people's lives. This is young men. This shouldn't be happening in a civilised country.
You know, I am seeing outrage about advertising campaigns.
Well, that's it.
I am seeing outrage about, you know, for example, the fact that trolleys at Tesco's, the story that happened today, have got an outline of a woman on the trolley telling you how to use it or not because that's sexist now. And I'm seeing outrage at that. I'm not seeing outrage at the fact that young teenagers are being stabbed to death every single day in this capital. The police forces, Met's police budget is being cut by £413 million. Half of London's police stations are going to close. You've got a mayor over there who really does his best not to bring up knife crime. I mean, really, where's the anger here? Where's the outrage here? But oh no, you know, there aren't too many transgender toilets in the capital, so that's obviously the priority. I'm sorry, but this is mental.
Loads of people commenting. Lincoln Simpson on Twitter saying standard day in London. Unfortunately, I mean, we've heard these streams guys say their families won't come to London anymore. Leslie's
just saying London is one place I will never go to, and you know,
how sad is that? Every time I hear that, I think that's so sad now that we've got to that point where people not from London, they're outside, don't want to come because they don't think it's safe. And this is the capital of our country. And as I say, the acid attacks, the stabbings, there's been shootings.
Yeah,
this is now becoming such a degree. I mean, as I say, we've done 2. There was one of these 19-year-old stabbed to death in Streatham, and then last night, Patrick, another stabbing.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah.
Outside, was it Harrow on the Hill tube station? Outside the tube station.
Yeah.
Outside the train station.
So the thing is, they're getting so brazen now, and you have to think about, these are the people that are just using the knives that we're hearing about, the ones that are dying and stuff. I mean, how many people are actually must be getting stabbed every day that don't present themselves at a hospital because it's gang related? How many kids are, you know, really are in a position where they are just walking around with knives now? I mean, I won't go into details, but someone who's very close to me is a school teacher. There was a lad at that school who was 13 years old who got expelled for bringing a foot-long serrated knife into school last week. I mean, that's absolutely mental when you're living in a society where that is deemed acceptable. And the thing about that, the real kicker about that story, is that everyone in his year group knew he carried a knife regularly, and no one was so shocked about it that they told a teacher. I mean, that's the kind of society that we're breeding at the minute.
Loads of comments on Twitter.
Let's have them.
Yeah, people just saying, Deadbird saying all this talk and nothing will change. But here's the thing, Deadbird. Here is the thing. The media revolution, the technological revolution means that little guys like us, with our little website, can actually get out now to thousands and millions of people. And we're doing it. And we're doing it through these streams. We refuse to accept this in London or anywhere else. Britain is not a country where we should be seeing stories about young men being stabbed to death on a weekly or even monthly or anything basis. And the complete lack of leadership when it comes to law and order in this country is disgusting. You look at some of the things that have been happening lately. You look at John Venables, the James Bulger killer.
Oh, gosh.
You look at the so-called black cab rapists. You look at these scumbags being protected, being let out early, being given these pathetic sentences. And law and order, really, I think of it in terms of not sort of political. I think in terms of my mum, my sister, your family, Patrick, people I love, people that I know.
Oh, cheers, mate.
There you go.
But
that's how I think about it. We have to be protected, and at the moment it does feel like, with cuts to the police and these pathetic, weak sentences that we're getting now, We're becoming a more dangerous society. We've seen the violent crime stats, guys.
Absolutely.
Whether you talk about knife crime, we talk about gun crime, we talk about robbery, whether we talk about
Going
rape,
up 20-odd%.
across the board. They are going up
It's
across
mental.
the board. And no one seems to be talking about it. They mention the statistics for a day, and then the whole thing moves on. We're not moving on.
Yeah.
This is happening now. These are people's sons. These are people's, brothers. These are families being destroyed because we're becoming a more violent society. And it cannot keep going this way, guys. And we're going to keep highlighting it. So please support us. But if you're enjoying this, please retweet, please like. Please visit what'smonster.com. We're going to keep highlighting these issues because these are the things that matter.
Well, look, guys.
Not all this crap you see about what should be banned today,
well,
what killjoys don't like. This is the stuff that matters.
This is it. And Joanne's bang on board saying, I refuse to accept this. And so do we here at Westminster. This is why we're trying to do what we're trying to do. We want to really...
I'm glad that's got a problem.
Yeah, and it has. And, but people are agreeing with you, Michael, saying Jackie Graham here saying law and order's breaking down. This is...
People are feeling that. I know that from people I speak to.
Yeah.
There is a sense that this is all being swept under the carpet.
But this is what happened. I mean, sometimes in society, I think you have to accept that a system that may have worked for X amount of years in the past is maybe no longer applicable to what's going on today. And if you look at the way we deal with it at the minute, you have to get caught twice carrying acid to get basically a caution.
I mean, what kind of message?
I mean, that's mental. And then even if you do end up going to court for things like a knife crime offence, the chances of, you get a suspended sentence, you're back out on the street, the whole system there, with the way that we are dealing with violent crime on the streets of Britain, needs massive, massive reform. Otherwise, we're going to keep seeing, unfortunately, these young men and women dying on the capital streets. And how long is it before this dissipates out throughout the entire country? Surely it's not going to be that long at all. We're already seeing it go up in places like Manchester, Birmingham and Liverpool. It's not a world that we want to live in.
Now, turning to another very, very serious subject you may have seen recently, these jihadi scumbags. I'm not going to use their names because, frankly, I don't want to. These jihadis have basically been caught, British-born, I believe.
Yeah.
Again, we keep highlighting this, guys. We keep highlighting this story because there's a complete, total, fatal contradiction at the heart of the British government right now, right? And it basically revolves around this whole idea of returning jihadis. So these are people that leave Britain, go and support this death cult that rapes children, burns people alive, executes people, all the rest of it. They're going, these sickos go over there joining them. And then we've got a situation whereby people like Gavin Williamson, and this is why it's relevant, because for this story he said about these guys that he doesn't think they should ever set foot in this country again. Yeah. But yet, there are hundreds, that's right, hundreds of jihadis that have gone to Syria and Iraq that are now back in Britain. Mm-hmm. We don't know who they are, we don't know where they are, we don't know if they've been prosecuted, I don't think very many of them have. And it's a story that keeps going on and on because, again, when you've got the Defence Secretary Gavin Williams saying these two particular scumbags shouldn't be brought back to the UK, and I think that's correct, by the way, it does beg the question, why have hundreds of others been let back?
Yeah, and why have they been deemed as well? So this is something that's snuck through, but you can find a report on this on westmonster.com, so please do check it out. By the way, guys, just another shameless little plug. If you are liking what we're doing here, do give us a share, do give us a thumbs up, and do give us a like. We appreciate your support. We need it to grow. But look, there was something that got snuck through in Parliament the other week. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. There was an urgent question asked by John Woodcock MP, Labour MP for Barrow and Furness. He's quite a nice chap, actually, as it happens. He has said, look, can you tell me how many of these people that have come back into Britain, returning ISIS fighters, how many have they prosecuted? And they couldn't tell him that they prosecuted any. And in fact, they actually said that they deemed most of them to no longer be a national security risk. Are you absolutely mental?
Interesting comment here from David, which we'll go to in a minute.
Yeah.
I just want to address this comment here from Tariq on Twitter, basically saying the difference between jihadists and Muslims. And Tariq, I'm absolutely with you. We, Westminster, highlight the moderate Muslims. Majid Nawaz is one. People that are that are Muslims that stand against these disgusting terrorist scumbags. Because we don't want a country where people are divided along religion or ethnicity or gender or anyone else. There's some on the left that try and play that game, and we must never fall into that.
That's very true.
Because I believe that the everyday decent person in this country, all they want really is they want enough money to have a decent life, they want their kids to be safe, and they want to have a decent standard of living, right? And we have to take on and defeat extremists together. Yeah. I think to do that, we've got to be more honest about the religious aspects to the jihadism. At the end of the day, these people do say that they act in the name of Islam, but that we do have to also clearly say that there are moderate Muslims that stand against these extremism. And I believe together we will destroy these people. We will destroy the jihadists. They're terrorist scumbags. But my question is, why are we being put in risk? Why are the British public being put in risk by hundreds of them being allowed back out onto our streets. Not a single one of them should have been allowed back. And I don't understand it. And
Well,
I think we need more answers on this, guys, because the government just to say, well, they're not a terrorist or the rest of it isn't good enough.
I mean, they'd become a national security risk, wouldn't they, if they moved in at 11 Downing Street? They'd become a national security risk if they lived down the road from any major politician in the country whatsoever, or any banker, or any member of the social strata that is in the higher echelons of society. They would then be deemed too much of a security risk to live anywhere near them, to live anywhere in their gated community. So why is it okay for these politicians to let one of them sit next to you on the train, or move in next door to your grandma, or send their kids to the same school as your kids, or be lying next to you in the NHS hospital bed? I'm sorry, but it's not on. And I think, and it is, and I've always said this actually, and it is a matter of when, not if, one of these returnees commits an act of terror in this country. It is a matter of when, and when they do, I'm sorry, but really, there should be some serious high-level resignations over there in Westminster, because that is entirely their fault.
Yeah, and again, guys, this is another thing we're going to stay on. We need to keep highlighting what the hell is going on in terms of the terror threat. It's incredibly worrying what has gone on. We've got a few more stories we're going to go to more on a cultural aspect.
Yes.
Because Patrick's got a...
Oh, it's a bit of a shift, isn't it?
I don't know about you guys, before we go to this, I don't know about you guys, every single time I turn on the TV now, which admittedly is less and less because I just can't really hack it anymore, it seems like every time I put the TV on, there's a debate about something either being offensive, or something's going to be banned, or something isn't acceptable anymore. And it seems like it's culturally as a country, we're sort of moving back. Like we've seen like things like the grid girls being banned, or you know, there was a, what was the advert from, the Poundland advert we covered, whereby, let's get this up.
Yeah, it's a Christmas advert, wasn't it, for Poundland?
It was a Christmas advert. It was a bit of harmless banter. It was a cheeky elf with a few sort of cheeky sexual innuendos. And basically, the advertising agency have turned around after they got, and let me get this, guys, that they got, was it 85 complaints, imagine that. This is a campaign that went viral. This is a campaign that was probably seen by millions of people. 85 people with too much time in their hands, far too much time in their hands, went out a whinge about it, and their advertising agency come back and say, oh, well, no, you can't do that anymore. And it's every single time, every week now, every single time I put on the TV, there seems to be some controversy, someone getting offended about something. The fact is, people can be offended. That's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
If you have a strong opinion on something, or if you run a strong message on something, whether it's advertising, whatever, yeah, some people aren't going to like it. The question is, how many do like it? And when you've got 85 people complaining out of the millions that saw it, able to curb a campaign, I think it leads you down a very dangerous route.
I just think the day that you catch me taking my time to write in about a miniature novelty elf that offends me, can you just put a bullet right here, please? Because that clearly, A, I've got nothing else on, and B, I'm clearly a very sad little man, even more sad than maybe you thought I already was.
So this leads into this film, but before we go there, guys, there is a bit of breaking news now. We're going to try and get some more on this. Police are investigating, apparently, a suspicious package inside the House's apartment. This is complete breaking news. House of Commons spokesperson saying that police are investigating an incident inside the parliamentary estate. Other reports of police investigating a suspicious package inside the House of Parliament.
Yeah.
So we'll bring you the very latest.
And actually,
literally breaking.
Guys, some of this is coming as well from one of our viewers, James Ryan, just saying some breaking news at Parliament Live. So thanks for keeping us abreast with that. But we are all over it, mate. Don't worry. We do know from just before we went on air, actually, there was a little tweet that went out that said there seemed to be a lot of police activity around the ministerial corridor. So we don't know, obviously, exactly what's going on yet. More will become clear. We've got good men working on this at the minute. But it does look as though some suspicious package has been found within the corridors of power.
Maybe something, but if we hear anything else while we're
maybe
on there,
Theresa May's just left a bag full of money she was going to hand over to Brussels. We just don't know.
We'll let you know. But and turning to this movie for a second, just going back to this whole idea of the perpetually offended and outraged.
Yeah.
This whole idea now that if you do anything, and this is where I think it leads, guys, this is why I think it's so dangerous, because you then turn into a society, guys, where no one pushes the envelope, no one's a bit controversial, no one ever says anything original, because you become a very boring, mundane society. If no one wants to take any risks, or be a bit edgy, or say something that, yes, might offend a few people.
Yeah.
Guess what? If you stand for something, I mean, arguably, me and Patrick have probably offended a few people.
Well, I'd be surprised if I hadn't. I'd be disappointed if I hadn't.
I mean, I'm just talking about the dress sense, but you know, in views as well potentially. But yeah, this movie.
Yeah. So basically, everyone. I mean, I actually can't even believe I'm talking about this. So everyone might remember a set of books called Peter Rabbit. And obviously, I think it's been made and turned into a load of cartoon TV series, etc. Well, they've just done a film about it. It's probably a remake of an old film as well, I don't know. But Peter Rabbit, anyway, you get the picture. It's a fluffy little fictional rabbit. And at some point during this Peter Rabbit film, the rabbit throws a blackberry or an apple at a gardener, knowing that he is allergic to blackberries. And the guy has to use an EpiPen to basically save his life. And now
that
this
is
caused
outrageous.
Well, literally now.
Out bloody outrageous.
This became national news. This became national news that people got on their high horse, although that's not very vegan of them, to then complain about the fact that this was not sensitive enough to people with food allergies.
Deadbird's commented on Twitter. Deadbird is offended. We have triggered someone. I'm very sorry that you're offended. I think you're having a bit of a laugh there.
Yeah.
But look,
but it's mental, isn't it? No, but this is it.
It's what goes on.
I'm sorry, but can you just... This is what I don't get. And this talk about this lack of self-awareness of people. When you're offended by that, when you're going to watch...
Peter would be proper tasting the pot.
Yeah. When you're going to watch that film, what you have caught yourself being offended at there is an animated rabbit in a fight to the death with a fictional gardener for not being more considerate of his fictional food allergies. Get in life.
Well, and it just highlights, as I say, you can laugh about it in isolation, but this isn't just like a one-off now. Every single time I put on the TV, every single time I see some sort of debate going on, it's about banning something.
Yeah, boycott Peter Rabbit. I mean, just say that out loud to yourself.
Be offended, be boycotted, be outraged. It's like, take a chill pill. If it's not your thing, man, just turn the TV off, switch the channel. Live and let live. Breaking the law. Well, that's how I live my life. I mean, I see things all the time that outrage me. As I say, your dress sense, Chelsea losing football games, all the rest of it, me losing my hair. I'm outraged by all of it. But the fact is, being offended by things is it's just part of life. Just get on with it. Just get on with it.
Absolutely.
But we're going to end up, guys, if you're enjoying this, by the way, do give us a like, do give us a retweet. Make sure you're following us. And go to westmonster.com for all the latest on all of these stories. I'm just going to give a quick recap. Okay. So there's a heavy police presence visible below. What sort of incident?
Yeah, this is an incident. This is at Parliament, guys, just across the road from us here in Westminster. We got reports through just before we came on air that there was a heavy police presence in the ministerial corridor behind the House of Commons chamber, and it believes there has been a suspicious package. But a House of Commons spokesperson said police are currently investigating an incident on the parliamentary estate.
We've got some other breaking news here, which is Mrs. Ansrapia asking who's having pancakes today. I need to know, guys. Are you having pancakes?
I'm afraid I am. I'm actually giving up booze for Lent.
You know what?
So
pancakes put weight on me, and then I become fat, and I'm offended by that. I'm offended by the fact that when I eat crap food, it puts weight on me.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be allowed to sell that to me. It's bang out of... Look, I'm only joking. If you're having pancakes, let us know, guys. And of course, let us know what that all-important topping is. I bet you're a squeezy lemon guy.
I'm an Nutella man. I'm an Nutella man. I've always said that.
That does extra damage, that one, you see.
All right, guys, look, it's been an absolute honour and a privilege to spend the last half an hour, 45 minutes, however long it's been with you.
One more.
Oh, got one more.
No, because we always like to leave it on a high note, don't we?
Go for it. Go for it.
There was a story that came out yesterday. Now, we heard, of course, guys, it's the Ramona doom and gloom, isn't it? It's the usual. It's the usual. The world's going to end. Michael's going to get a bad cough and die. The world's going to keel over and all the rest
Absolutely.
of it. If we vote to leave the EU and if we have full Brexit. And the City of London was one of the aspects of this, wasn't it? We were told there was going to be an exodus. Everyone was going to leave London. The financial district would be finished. They'd go abroad, of course. Absolute load of tosh. And in fact, Citigroup, US banking giant Citigroup, has said they are setting up an innovation centre. I like that. I like that name. I'd like to work in innovation
centre. It's just coming up. Just a lot of blue sky thinking goes on there, doesn't it?
Yeah, a load of like mind maps.
We're all touching base.
Yeah. Always good to touch base. But innovation centre they're going to set up in London, of course. The Financial Times, mega pro-EU Financial Times, are having to admit that the development is going to be set up in London with 60 technologists being signed up to work at the centre. So there you go, guys. It's just another... These companies and banks and everything now know that we're leaving the EU. We know we're set to leave the customs union single market at some point.
Yeah.
And they are pouring money in. They're investing money in Britain. So when you hear this absolute load of baloney carried on from these sore losers who can't just... who've taken a beating and still want to carry on and want to fight and want to be doom and gloom, want to bring the whole thing down still and block it, just remember, look at the economic reality.
Absolutely. And here's another little upside for us to finish on. Amanda, who is a Westminster regular, she's been with us since day one. She said that she's actually having gin pancakes tonight for adults only. Well, Amanda, I'm giving up alcohol for Lent, but I might join you tonight on my last night of alcoholic freedom and have a gin and tonic with you virtually.
Last comment on Twitter as we wrap up here. Plenty of tossers around. On that we can agree. So thanks very much for joining us, guys. If you enjoyed this, retweet, like us on Facebook, visit westminster.com. We'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.